are starting to charge customers a levy to cover the rising cost of pandemic-related staff shortages. Here's Paul Zalai from the Freight and Trade Alliance. Good afternoon, Paul. Thanks for joining us. So what level of staff shortages is the industry coping with?
Yeah, look, it ranges across the country, as you would imagine. But look, in broad figures, it's ranging from about 20 to 50% of the workforce now is unable to do their duties.
So how are those staff shortages then affecting business operations and then costs?
Yeah, look, you can imagine it's affecting a whole, as well as, you know, the obvious that we're seeing with the supermarket shelves and the like. It's affecting every part of the supply chain. Our particular focus is on the international sector. So everywhere from the stevedore operations at our actual wharves and the difficulty of getting enough staff there, through to the road transport sector, through to even warehouse facilities and premises where empty containers are handled. So a big disruption right across the international supply chain.
Right. So how much are freight companies charging customers as a surcharge to cover these extra costs?
Look, we've seen a couple of fees come in the vicinity of around $20 to $30 per container, and that's from the road transport sector in particular. But we've even seen one of the major stevedores in Melbourne introduce a fee of another few dollars per container.
But not every freight company is charging this extra amount, are they?
No, they're not, and you know that's largely because the road transport sector in particular is a very competitive market. We've got about 400 registered transport companies in that sector, so it is, in normal situation, a very competitive environment.
But why are some companies managing to continue operations without imposing any surcharges?
Yeah, look, it's a matter for each organisation. You know, some will be affected to different degrees, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see more of the transport sector implementing this fee. We're not advocating that there should be such a charge, but you can understand it. You know, aside from the costs of the rapid antigen tests, there's just the whole workflow that's just been adversely affected. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a situation where we will see an increase in this area. In normal circumstances, if a transport company would implement an unjust fee, the competition would be all over it and would be looking to get that market share. But in this current environment, you might find that transport companies aren't looking for new business because they might be struggling to cope with their existing workload.
How long is this levy likely to stay in place then, Paul?
Well, again, the crystal ball would be a wonderful thing, but look, who knows? Let's see what happens with this Omicron outbreak in particular. If everything's true that we're hearing, that we should see a peak in the next few weeks. Hopefully things settle down sooner rather than later.
Now, how have changes to the rules regarding close contacts and isolation affected the situation? Have they improved things, relieved some of the pressure?
Oh, look, it's definitely been a necessary move. Again, coming back to the doctor, your previous guest, the big problem is the lack of the rapid antigen tests. So many of the rules, the state health orders, are still very contingent on close contacts regularly doing the RAT test, which is great in theory, but with limited access to the RAT, it makes it very difficult.
You've told us that your members operate internationally. It is the Chinese New Year coming up. How will that play into the whole situation?
Yeah, just to add a bit more excitement to the whole situation, yeah, the RATs, which are now being sourced by government and private businesses in large numbers to meet the demand, the bulk of those tests do come from China. So I suppose there's two hurdles that we need to have a look at there. One is, as you said, the Chinese New Year, which is coming up in the beginning of February, where traditionally a lot of the factories will close down during that period. And the other issue is, you know, with the Winter Olympics coming up and the real determination of the Chinese government to go for the COVID zero type policy, that it is possible that we might see regions and therefore factories shut down for periods of time, and potentially their ports and airports. So yeah, it's a very interesting space to watch, and will have a flow-on effect here to our supply chains.
Paul Zalai, thank you.
Thank you, Ros.
Tasmania.